Hello, Bart. Friend.
Bart's alive!
Lead me to Bart.
You'll have to kill me first. But if you kill me, you'll never find Bart.
Bart disappears, and the town gathers a search team to find him. After many give up, Sideshow Bob manipulates Milhouse into revealing where Bart is hiding.
Where is my son?
The episode starts with some inmates from Springfield Penitentiary doing trash collection. While they pick up the garbage, they also take some stuff for themselves, like cigarettes. When they finish collecting everything, putting it into bags and dumping it into a dumpster, Homer's car, which he was sleeping in, crashes into the trash bin, making all the trash spill out again. One of the inmates gets really mad because a banana peel falls on his head, and when he shakes his head, the peel drops to the ground. He steps on it and falls. Marge wakes Homer up and tells him he messed up since someone was cleaning the highway. Homer asks Marge to keep it down because no one saw. Marge thanks Homer for renting the car so she wouldn't have to deal with the mess the kids made. At that moment, Lisa says she's feeling sick because she ate too much. Her mom tells her to stick her head out of the car to throw up, but Homer says the car is rented, so she can throw up inside. Homer also asks if they want a caramel apple or to shave the dog, since it's a rented car.
Anyone want a caramel apple? It's a rental.
No thanks.
Shave the dog? It's a rental.
Thank you, no.
Homer drives to the car rental place called Rent and Wreck a Car. When the salesperson checks the vehicle, he says he's going to call Homer Santa Claus because he's being generous by returning the car with more gas than when he got it. Homer gets really mad because he doesn't want to be called Santa Claus and tells Bart that he's going to burn all the extra gas in the car. The girls, Lisa and Maggie, get out of the vehicle and Homer and Bart head out to burn the rest of the fuel. Homer tows boats, trucks, and even ships to use up the gas. He uses the car to hold up a bridge and even to play football with Bart. Bart tells Homer he needs to go to the bathroom, and Homer opens the car door, telling him to go right there, since it's a rental. Bart replies that he knows it's a rental, but he'd rather go to the woods. Homer asks if Bart wants him to go with him into the woods, but Bart says it's fine. He's 10 years old and knows what to do. When Bart gets there to do his business, he finds art students painting nature. He walks a little further and manages to pee, but when he looks around, he sees a sign on top of a metal cover that says, "Do not jump on top."
Bart, where are you?
Homer goes out to look for Bart and is soon spotted by two hunters who think he's a pregnant animal. Homer returns without Bart to the rental place, where Marge, Lisa, and Maggie are waiting. Marge asks where they were, and Lisa notices Bart isn't there and asks about him. Homer immediately thinks this is the worst news a mother could hear about her missing child, so he tries to downplay the situation with small talk. Later that night, the search for Bart continues. Marge becomes very restless about her son's disappearance, and Officer Wiggle tells her not to worry because this is his specialty, comforting parents who have lost their children. He then asks her if she knows what Bart's skeleton looks like. Marge loses it, calling him incompetent. Homer holds her back, and Officer Wiggle assures her that Bart will be fine because they set up a grid and several search teams are spread throughout the forest. However, some of the search crew started falling and getting hurt because of the grids, so they had to call an ambulance.
My son!
Bart wakes up after falling into the hole that had the "Do Not Jump" sign. Not knowing where he is, he turns on his shoe light and starts exploring until he finds a lever that turns on the power. Bart walks up to a small TV showing an old general talking about missiles. The general in the video continues, saying, "If you're watching this video, it's because half the world has already been destroyed. What we are witnessing is a result of reckless decisions. We're in a race against time, and the only way to avoid total destruction is to act with caution and responsibility. Remember, peace is a precious thing, and each of us has the power to protect it." Curious, Bart walks over to the missile and throws his shoe at it, thinking it's not working, only to get a big surprise. The search for Bart continues. Homer appears next to a man who claims to have the best hunting dog in the area. The man asks Homer if his son smells like a fox so that his dog can track him. Homer says no, so the man tells him his dog won't be of much help. Lisa is next to Officer Wiggle, pleading for Bart to show up, saying that even the weird guy from the house with the broken glass was out searching. The man yells, claiming he's a normal guy and that his broken windows were all because of Bart. The sergeant watching over the inmates orders them to search for the missing boy. The same inmate who slipped on the banana peel tells the sergeant they haven't been fed and are about to riot. In response, the sergeant shows a picture of Bart, and a red-haired prisoner says he's never seen Bart in his life. The sergeant lifts his shirt and sees a tattoo of Bart. The prisoner then imagines he'll be the one to find Bart and catch him, but the sergeant brings him back to reality with a baton. Bart is in the secret hideout, drinking powdered milk and trying to escape.
Freedom! Oh, I can smell Springfield.
but his attempt is quickly frustrated when the last step of the ladder breaks. Bart gets upset and says trying never works. He keeps doing things to relieve his stress. While playing with some toy soldiers he made, Bart finds a phone and hopes it has a signal. But instead of using the phone to call for help, he decides to prank call Moe. After the call to Moe, though, the phone burns out and Bart can't use it anymore. Nelson and Milhouse are still looking for Bart, but Nelson tells Milhouse he's going to give up and asks him to give Bart's money to him if he finds Bart. Milhouse responds that he'll never give up because looking for Bart forever is easier than finding another friend. Nelson jokes that he could be Milhouse's new friend, but then takes it back. Milhouse finds Bart's hat and soon spots the hole where he fell. As he gets closer, he realizes Bart is down there. He throws his phone to Bart, but it ends up falling to the ground and breaking. Bart says he's really happy to see Milhouse, and Milhouse promises to go get help for him. Meanwhile, back home, Marge is still sad and lights several candles for Bart. Homer comments that if Bart finds out about the candles, he'll never come back because he'll think his room turned into a church. On TV, the news reports the search for Bart and announces that he's been declared dead.
Lisa, I have news about Bart.
We already know. Oh, Milhouse.
And Milhouse thinks that if he tells her the truth, he won't get to keep hugging her. So instead of telling the truth, he says he came to comfort her. The surgeon overseeing the prisoners blows a whistle and calls off the search for Bart. The inmates ask why and if they found Bart. The surgeon replies that Bart is dead. The red-haired inmate gets sad because he wanted to be the one to finish Bart off. At Springfield Penitentiary, the red-haired inmate is seen in a session with a psychologist. The psychologist tells him to see Bart's death as an act of freedom, now that he doesn't have to worry about him anymore. The psychologist tries an experiment with Bobby. He hands him a picture of Bart, but as soon as Bobby takes the picture, he starts imagining Bart and says he has to do something about it because Bart is still alive. Meanwhile, Bart fixes the phone that had burned out and calls Marge. He speaks to his mom for a brief moment before the phone burns out again.
Oh my God, he's alive and sassy. Oh.
At the same time, Milhouse is still hugging Lisa, and just as he's about to leave, the inmate Bobby finds him and asks Milhouse to take him to Bart. Bobby starts singing a funny song to Milhouse with lyrics about how fish have feelings too and how making bubbles is an art.
Give! I'll take you to Bart!
He cracked like an egg
Please stop!
and began to beg.
Oh, you promised.
Marge borrows a snowmobile from her neighbor, Ned Flanders, and sets off with Lisa to find Bart. Ned Flanders says he'll pray for them. Homer and Grandpa Simpson follow close behind Marge and Lisa, using a sled cover where Grandpa pulls and Homer rides. Bart, still in his secret hideout, tries to pick out some records to listen to. Among the options are albums of Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra, but he ends up choosing one about angry dads and troubled kids. Meanwhile, Milhouse and Bobby arrive at the hole where Bart is. Milhouse warns Bobby that if he jumps down there, he won't be able to get out and will end up back in jail. But Bobby, unbothered, pushes Milhouse into the hole and says he's going to jump in right after. Bart, fed up with eating dried apples and frozen foods, switches to eating frozen pears. At that moment, Bob and Milhouse see Bart, who is startled. Bob traps Milhouse and Bart inside the old rocket, but when he tries to launch it, he realizes he can't do it alone. He needs two people to activate the launch. Milhouse comments that the old rocket is in surprisingly good condition for its age. Meanwhile, Grandpa Simpson and Homer are still looking for Bart with help from their dog. However, the dog leads them to Bart's room.
Did you find anything?
We found Bart's sock drawer.
Get back out here.
Grandpa Simpson says he can't keep walking around looking for Bart and jokes about wanting to die. Homer replies that he can't die there because he should do it in a retirement home where, as Homer puts it, meals are like a roulette game. You never know if you'll get a tasty dish or some mystery chicken that's past its prime. And don't forget the activities, which usually involve watching the same war movie over and over while the only exercise is raising your hand for more pudding. In the middle of this conversation, they get sidetracked, and Grandpa thinks they're looking for a Christmas tree. Homer covers his ears and says he's done listening. At that moment, they walk right past without hearing Bart and Milhouse's cries for help. Meanwhile, Bob manages to use both his feet and hands to turn the two keys needed to launch the rocket. Bart asks why Bob is doing this to him and Milhouse.
5 minutes to launch.
Homer and Grandpa Simpson then spot some footprints, but Homer thinks they're too big and jokes that they might belong to Shaquille O'Neal. At that moment, Shaquille appears, and upon seeing the footprints, he gets scared. Without a second thought, Shaquille leaps into the air and, with one swift jump, flies into the sky, leaving behind only a cloud of dust and a look of shock on the faces of Homer and Grandpa. Meanwhile, Bob has a moment of reflection and recalls what the psychologist had told him about doing good. He feels a little bad, unsure if he's seeing real things or just hallucinating. Feeling the pressure rise, Bob decides to call the psychologist and hesitantly asks what he should do. The psychologist, in a calm and encouraging voice, responds, "Bob, if you're rethinking your actions and seeking to do the right thing, it's a clear sign that you already know what to do. Trust yourself and follow your heart." Homer and Grandpa Simpson hear a noise, and Grandpa remarks that it's the sound of a rocket. He excitedly explains it's a Falcon 9 model rocket.
I've had just about enough of your nonsense. All right, I owe you one.
Bart asks Bob why he saved him, and Bob replies that he no longer wants to be a bad person. He reveals that he's seeking redemption and a new life. They hug, emotional, and ask Milhouse to watch each other's backs, knowing they are now inseparable friends. 6 months later, Bob tells the psychologist that he's happy with what he did and that once he completes his 3 sentences, he'll open a flower shop. The doctor celebrated and remarked that not all his patients have as much success as Bob. He mentioned that if Bob wanted to continue therapy, there are 2 available slots. Many years later, Bob is shown living in a lighthouse, where he's found a new purpose and a bit of inner peace.
Your New York magazine, sir. Can I go now? I've got 15 other lighthouses and everyone's a weirdo.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. See you in the next videos.